From dream job to nightmare. More than a dozen women allege sexual harassment and verbal abuse by former team employees at Redskins Park. So this is an article about the sexual assault or sexual misconduct allegations against the NFL. So while they're distracting us with a whole bunch of other things, right now people are actually bringing up suits against the NFL. Okay, let's keep going. Okay. From dream job to nightmare. More than a dozen women allege sexual harassment and verbal abuse by former team employees at Redskin Park. So while they are distracting us with a whole bunch of things, the NFL is countering lawsuits brought by dozens of women regarding sexual assault allegations. Okay, here we go. A few months after Emily Applegate started working for the Washington Redskins in 2014, she settled into a daily routine. She would meet a female coworker in the bathroom during their lunch breaks, she said, to commiserate and cry about the frequent sexual harassment and verbal abuse they endured. They cried about the former chief operating officer's expletive tirades, Applegate said, when she recalled him calling her effing stupid, and then requesting she wear a tight dress for a meeting with clients, so the men in the room would have something to look at. They cried about a wealthy suite holder who grabbed her friend's backside during a game, Applegate said, and the indifference the team's top sales executive displayed when she complained. But most of all, Applegate said, they cried about the realization that their dream jobs of working in the NFL came with what they characterized as relentless sexual harassment and verbal abuse that was ignored and in some cases condoned by top executives. So while they're persecuting Black men for anything and kicking them out. Oh, for taking a knee. Let's not forget that. They pretty much banned him and blacklisted him for taking a knee. They got sexual harassment accusations coming out the wazoo that they not even telling us. The news not even reporting this because I ain't never heard this before. Applegate is one of 15 former Redskin employees who told the Washington Post, this is just the Redskins, who told the Washington Post that they were sexually harassed during their time at the club. The other 14 women spoke on condition of anonymity, citing fear of litigation, because some signed non-disclosure agreements with the team that threatened legal retribution if they speak negatively about the club. The team declined a request from the Post to release former female employees from these agreements, so they could speak on the record without fear of legal reprisal. This story involved interviews with more than 40 current and former employees and a review of text message and internal company documents. Team owner Daniel Snyder declined several requests for an interview over the past week as the Post presented detailed allegations and findings to the club. 3 employees accused of improper behavior abruptly departed, including Larry Michael, the club's longtime radio voice, and Alex Santos, the team's director of pro personnel. In a statement, the team said it had hired DC attorney Beth Wilkinson at her firm, Wilkinson Walsh, to conduct a thorough independent review of this entire matter and help the team set up new employee standards for the future. The Washington Redskins football team takes issues of employee conduct seriously. While we do not speak to specific employee situations publicly, when new allegations of the conduct are brought forward that are contrary to these policies, we address them promptly, the team said. The allegations raised by Applegate and others running from 2006 to 2019, so this is 13 years. Okay? During that time, I wonder how many Black men were expelled from the NFL for various things. Not saying that some of them didn't deserve to do so, but it seems like there's a double standard. The allegations raised by Applegate and others running from 2006 to 2019 span most of Snyder's tenure as owner and falls into 2 categories: unwelcome overtures or comments of a sexual nature, and exhortations to wearing revealing clothing and flirt with clients to close sales deals. Among the men accused of harassment and verbal abuse are 3 former employees of Snyder's Inner Circle and 2 longtime members of the personnel department. Michael, senior vice president of content and the voice of the Washington Redskins. 7 former employees said Michael routinely discussed the physical appearance of female colleagues in a sexual nature and disparaging overtones. In 2018, Michael was caught on a hot mic speaking about the attractiveness of a college-aged intern. Oh, let's read that again. In 2018, Michael was caught on a hot mic speaking about the attractiveness of a college-aged intern, according to 6 former employees who heard the recording. Michael declined an interview and requested to retire Wednesday. Santos, the club's director of pro personnel, who was accused by 6 former employees and 2 reporters who covered the team of making inappropriate remarks about their bodies and asking them whether they were romantically interested in him. In 2019, Santos was the subject of an internal investigation after Rhiannon Walker, a reporter for the Athletic Informed Club management Santos had pitched her, told her she had an ass like a wagon, and repeatedly asked her to date him. Yeah, let's read that again. Rhiannon Walker, a reporter for the Athletic Informed Club management, Santos had pinched her, told her she had an ass like a wagon, and repeatedly asked her to date him. Walker said in an interview with the Post, Nora Princicati, a reporter from The Ringer who had formerly covered the team, also said in an interview that she was harassed by Santos. Santos, who was fired this past week, declined to comment. Richard Mann, assistant director of pro personnel, who is in text message obtained by the Post, told a female employee he and his colleagues debated whether her breasts had been surgically enhanced. And in another text message, told another female employee to expect an inappropriate hug. And don't worry about that. Don't worry about it, because that will be a stapler in my pocket and nothing else. Man, who was fired last week, declined to comment. Dennis Green, former president of business operations, who implored female sales staff to wear low-cut blouses and tight shirts and flirt with the wealthy suite holders, according to 5 former employees, including Applegate. Green's 17-year career with the club ended in 2018 amid a scandal over the revelation that he had sold access to the Redskin cheerleaders, including attendance at a bikini calendar photo shoot in Costa Rica, as a part of the preview suite packages. Green declined to comment. I will go on. Mitch Gershman, former chief operating officer who Applegate said routinely berated her for trivial problems such as printer malfunctions while also complimenting her body. 2 other former female employees supported Applegate's account of her sexual harassment and verbal abuse by Gershman, who left the team in 2015. It was the most miserable experience of my life, Applegate, now 31, said of her year working as a marketing coordinator for the club, which she left in 2015. And we all tolerated because we knew if we complained and they reminded us of this, there would be 1,000 people out there who would take our job in a heartbeat. You had a choice. Gershman, in a phone interview, denied Applegate's allegations. None of the women accused Snyder or former longtime team president Bruce Allen of inappropriate behavior with the women, but they expressed skepticism that the men were unaware of the behavior that they alleged. I would assume Bruce Allen knew because he sat 30 feet away from me and saw me sobbing at my desk several times a week, Applegate said. Allen, who was fired at the end of last year, did not reply to interview requests. While Applegate and others did not accuse Snyder of acting inappropriately with women, they blamed him for an understaffed human resources department and what they viewed as a sophomoric culture of verbal abuse among top executives that they believed played a role in how these executives treated their employees. Now, they always talk about how misogynistic black men are in hip hop and everything. So, seems like, it's the pot calling the kettle. Snyder routinely belittled top executives, according to 3 former members of his executive staff, perhaps the most intensely Green, the former sales executive, whom Snyder mocked for having been a cheerleader in college. After one executive staff meeting, according to one former employee, Green and Snyder had ordered him to do cartwheels for their entertainment. I have never been in a more hostile, manipulative, passive-aggressive environment and I worked in politics, said Julia Payne, former assistant press secretary in Clinton. administration, who briefly served as vice president of communications for the team in 2003. She tried to tell us that it's not the same exact thing. Don't sit there and try to act like the NFL is any worse than politics. It's the same exact thing. Look at what they're talking about Cuomo did. Cuomo touching people's face on camera. And they say he ain't stepping down. I ain't resigning. Payne did not witness or endure sexual harassment, she said, but she supported what many other former employees said about the culture with Snyder. With such a toxic, mood-driven environment, the owner behaving like he does, Payne said, how could anyone think these women would go to HR? Former female employees said the first few weeks at the Redskins Park often came with an informal but valuable orientation administered privately by veteran female employees who warned them to avoid certain people and places such as the staircases near the entrances to the team headquarters. Oh, yes. Let's hear about the staircase. Lined at the top with transparent plexiglass. The stairs descend from the lobby to the locker room and the training areas, and someone standing at the bottom can look up the skirt of a woman standing at the top. One former female member of the executive staff learned this lesson early in her tenure. She said when she looked down to see a male trainer 2 floors down staring right back up, walking step for step with her, he even leaned to get a better angle, the woman said. He wasn't even trying to hide it. For many women, their jobs with the team were their first out of college. Several expressed a sense of shame and said they realized they had accepted behavior years ago and that they now realized it was inappropriate, such as unwanted shoulder rub or a compliment about their legs. It was my first job, so I kind of normalized it, said a woman who worked for the club several years and departed in 2019. And it was happening to every single one of my female coworkers under the age of 40. Training camp in Richmond in August was a hotbed of improper activity, several women said. Some encouraged younger female staffers to avoid the tobacco company, a bar and restaurant in a stately brick building frequented by the team officials. I was propositioned basically every day at training camp, said one female employee who worked for the team in the mid-2010s for several years. The overtures came in the form of a whispered invitation from one coach at the tobacco company to his hotel room, she said, as well as emails and text messages from other male staffers, and disclosing their room numbers and offering invitations for late-night visits. Attending the annual NFL Scouting Combine in Indianapolis, a former female employee said, also heightened the likelihood of unwanted attention and propositions at places such as Prime 47, a steakhouse and bar popular with the league officials and journalists. At the 2019 Combine, Rhiannon Walker, new to the Redskins, beat for the Athletic Santos, was fired along with his top scouting assistant, Richard Mann, who sent flirtatious texts to other former female employees that had provided to the post. Gershman told Applegate never to wear flats, only to wear heels, she said, and suggested form-fitting dresses for nighttime events with premium clients. Schaefer was appalled by the verbal abuse Applegate endured from Gershman. She said he told her and he offered to serve as a witness or connect with her lawyer if she wanted to file a formal complaint. Applegate declined and said she feared making an issue of Gershman's conduct would mark the end of her career with the team. So this is while she was employed there. Colleagues, however, expressed outrage that Schaefer didn't file a complaint of his own. According to the employee manual, all supervisory management personnel of the Redskins organization are expected to take immediate and appropriate action to prevent or stop harassment in the workplace, when they become aware. Schaefer declined to comment. Applegate said she understands why he didn't make an issue of her treatment in 2015. It's the same reason why she never filed the complaint. I needed to keep my job, she said. When it comes down to it, 98% of the people make decisions on stuff like this based on needing to keep their jobs, which is why this stuff goes on for so long. So while they're sitting here doling out punishments, and wagging their fingers behind closed doors, they paying people off and doing the same thing.